G'day and welcome to DJF Live, episode 126. And on today's show, we're going to take a look at the new DJF Live One and Live Core, which are sort of the main offerings that I have in terms of running a live stream. Core being the sort of essential functions that you need to run a live stream and navigate and look at YouTube stats and all that kind of stuff. And then DJF Live One is my sort of all-in-one package that includes ATEM and Canon PTZ and Hyperdeck and the Core all in one. So I just wanted to sort of introduce that because that's a new offering that I have, and that's going to be the easiest way to do a single install, and then you get all the benefits of everything that I'm creating here on this channel. And as things progress, I may add things to that package as well in terms of just being a all-inclusive package that you can add things to. If you're new here, we talk about live streaming predominantly, but also photography and video production. So drop your questions in the chat as we go along. We'd love to have a Q&A with you at the end, but I'm just going to start by introducing the core of the system that I have been working on for quite a while. So DJF Core is, I'm not quite sure what that graphic is doing there. DJF Core, let me just hide that one. What is that? There's something stuck on the screen, I think. Let me see if I can fix that one before we get going in OBS. Quit that one, start it again. Oh, no, it's still there. Something in H2R is stuck. Let me just get that one cleaned up. Start again. Quit that one, start again, and refresh that out. Something's stuck there. I'm going to keep on going, talking about introduction to the Core. So to introduce Core, this is your central operating layer that removes page hunting and creates a sort of consistent home base for every production. So rather than having to go deep into a Stream Deck, this is going to get you there in a single press. So let's take a look at the home page here. Is page one. And all these green buttons will jump you out to like control the ATEM or PTZ if you have those installed. And then all these DJF Core elements such as clock and YouTube and Sheets, and we'll go over to these in more detail in terms of what they are. And then we've got sub-menus here for the page one. So under settings, this is where it'll show you which version you're on. You can control your list or queue mode here. You can group your Stream Decks from 1 to 4, so you can actually operate everything with a single Stream Deck, but I also wanted to be able to add up to 4 Stream Decks, so you can have 128 buttons that are moving in sync. And so this is where you would group 1, 2, 3, or 4 Stream Decks, so that as you're navigating through page one, all the other pages are updating with the relevant things in terms of like switching inputs or camera presets. You'll be able to have more buttons at your disposal there. And you can also control emulators. There's a few companion Pi things in terms of rebooting and shutting it down, restarting companion if for some reason you're having problems, and other companion related things like scanning USB again and link to jump out to my site for updates to your profile. Under the module status, you'll see if you've got things that are working or not working. So it looks like Notion was not working, but we've started that one again, so that's hopefully good. And so if you've got an error, it'll show up here, and there's some empty boot up or shut down buttons here that you can add your own actions into if you have a whole startup sequence or shutdown sequence. And then user is a blank canvas. I got a few buttons in here that I can jump out to, for example, controlling a Hyperdeck or something. So that's just more real estate here if you need more navigation. But there are a few blank buttons in there if you want to start adding in more pages to the navigation part that we have going on here. So that was the home navigation. And then let's take a look at the shot switching. So on page 2, we're going to have your primary switching, and that's a place where you can have fast and clean switching while remaining sort of visually organized and not having to go further into the profile to see that. So we'll go to page 2, and you can see I've got some ATEM buttons in here, but you could copy in your own switcher depending on what you're using. This is sort of a space where you can do your switching. And then there's also, again, 3 submenus, 1, 2, and 3. So more canvas there if you want to be able to hold a button and reach a second layer of buttons. So just plenty of space there to do basic hard switching, or with the ATEM you could also set it in a preview program mode if you want to switch between putting something into preview and then using cut or auto to put it into the program. Let's take a look at page 3, and this is the scene custom macros. So this is a custom space which is set aside for you to build your own custom buttons, and that will depend on your own production. So under page 3 here, under scene, you can see I've already built out my various looks here. For some reason that graphic is still stuck there. I don't know what that is. Probably something on my, it's something to do with H2R. But I don't have time to troubleshoot that, so we're going to keep on going. So this button, See You Hero, this is what I'm looking at the moment, and so I've got a ATEM input switch button here. I've got a camera command to change the shot size here, and also to put the upstream key in the ATEM. But then you could have another button like a super source and sort of build that out to present different things. So just sort of a space where you can build your own show, and that's really how I run things. If I'm switching for a client or for someone else and I'm directing behind the scenes, I'm usually in the shot page switching that and calling cameras. But when I'm doing this kind of thing of presenting on YouTube and also switching on the go, then having these pre-built scenes is great, because it's not just a camera cut. It's also, audio, lights, playback, graphics, all that kind of stuff can be built into these buttons on the back end of Companion. Page 4 is the show dashboard. So the idea is that clocks and recording control and YouTube status live is all together in one consolidated dashboard, so you're not sort of seeing around the place of trying to figure out where to get to. So on page 4, we've got our show page here. So you can see this is a little mini YouTube display here showing the episode that is connected and I'm connected live to. You can see we're live. This is the start button if I'm not live. We've got a stop button here. It's showing me the stream health is good. 4 viewers. G'day to the 4 viewers who are watching this one. I just went live quickly, so haven't a chance to promote this one. And then down the bottom are some, it's connected into Google Sheets, where you can actually pull in data and insert these chats. So for example, I can pull in this one and say, drop your question in the chat, and you'll see that pop up in the chat there. So you can pre-write your chats before a show, so you're not having to do that on the fly, and easily insert them. This part here is similar to where if we had a scene macro, which is recalling different camera shots, then under the show, these 4 macros are sort of sitting outside of that, and they're bigger functions in the sense of starting a show or ending a show. So rather than changing camera shot, you might have a pre-roll, and that's how I start a show, which is a big sequence to start the web presenter, start YouTube, get cameras into first position, all that kind of stuff. And that's not something that I want to practice with. I just want to sort of run that to start a show. And then there's start and end, and then wrap is what I use to, once I've concluded a show, it sort of stops YouTube and stops the encoder and just brings everything to a halt. So that's a way of not missing anything before a show. So you can have all of that pre-planned out. And then it's just one button. It's a hold button for half a second, so you don't accidentally press it. Then there's 2 submenu pages here. There's a record page for 3 ATEMs, a web presenter, and a Hyperdeck, and a bit more blank space if you want to add in other things that you might want to record to. And then the clock page here is what I had for, what do we go, wrap? I'm just saying this is, I haven't set these clocks right, 1540. This is obviously the test show that I'm building here because we're going a bit longer than 1540. But you can see how it's gone negative here, so I've just gone past that clock. But what I can do is select these clocks to arm them essentially, and then when it hits 0, those functions will run. So if we're back on this page, you can also do it here, which is I could select auto pre-roll at 1525. So I was going to go live at 3:30, so 5 minutes before the show. If this is armed, then all of those functions will just get the show up and running. So it means that you can arm your show and then just go back to focusing on pre-production and getting things ready. And then when that time hits, the show goes live and things start to happen, and you're not losing track of where you're just the timing of what you need to get done. So that's where those clocks are here. You'd set them along here. You can use this keypad to enter it in, and then you would select which clock you want to enter that time into in terms of hours, minutes, seconds. Under presets, there's a couple of sort of pre-built ones here, and you can go on the back end and sort of change these clock times. But that's an easy way to sort of update these 4 clocks. And then there's also a segment clock, so you can change how long you want like a segment to run in terms of counting down, or if you set it at 0, then it's essentially sort of counting up. And you can also link this to the next section that I'll talk about in terms of run of show queue to automatically advance the run of show queue, or if you don't want it to actually advance the queues, you could have it so that when you manually advance a queue, it's resetting that segment. So it can kind of keep you on track there in terms of you can see clocks on your dashboard of, we've got 30 seconds getting down to 0, move on to the next segment. And when you move on to the next segment, it's automatically restarting that segment clock. So it's sort of keeping you on track for timing out your show. So that's the sort of clock overview. Let's jump into the queue system. So this is a run of show queue, which is designed to reduce cognitive load during live operation. Live streaming is really complex. There's so many things in terms of creatively that you're trying to execute, as well as technically, you've got lights, camera, sound, as well as all of the encoding and YouTube and the chat and all. There's a lot of things going on. And so the more that you can pre-plan ahead and build that into a run of show, then it's just going to be easier and more enjoyable to run a show. And so what the queue system is within Companion, I've built a way to have 24 run of show queues, and you can just step through them sequentially to execute them. So I'm going to jump over here to list, and you'll see these are my queues, 1 to 24. You can see these ones are empty here. I'm actually in list mode, which I'll talk about next, but I'm just going to jump back to the home page, and I can change between list mode and queue mode. So if I switch from list mode to queue mode, then now this is reflecting saying I'm on queue mode. And this also has 3 sets that you can change out, which sort of show you running. So I'm using set 2. I'll go back here. And so now this is running locally, and I can basically advance, and what is highlighted here is the next queue. And if I select this button, it's going to execute that queue and move to the next one. So I'm not going to do that just yet. But that's essentially how you can build actions behind each of these buttons, but then just use a single button here to advance the show. And this little 3-button controller here is available across all of the pages. So it doesn't matter if you're switching the show. Excuse me. It doesn't matter if you're switching the show or if you're on the page macro, you always have access to advancing your show here, whether in your queue mode or list mode. And so that just sort of keeps you in control of that. And you can also build in a remote control, and that's how I usually run the show is on my iPhone. I've just got an emulator here, which you'll see is these 3 buttons. So this is advancing the show, and then this is cutting to my this shot, to sort of the demo shot that I'm using. And then I've also got a super source shot here to show the more of a desktop demonstration here, but I can cut back to that. So that's how I'm running my show on the side, just with like a 3-button remote, which is really neat. So I don't have to stay on this page and I can be elsewhere and looking at things. And yeah, so that's the cue page. I'll just jump into here just because you just help visualize what's going on. So on the back end of this, I go to page 5. This is what the page looks like. So what you're seeing here is these first 32 buttons here in the sort of quadrant 1. And that's the sort of overlay of what is showing up on the Stream Deck. And then remember I said there's 3 different sets. So there's like set 1, set 2, and set 3. So each of these have 24 buttons here and here and here. And so I've got like a demo show in set 1. And then I've got my one that I'm running now live in set 2 and nothing in set 3. And so that's where back here I can just select which one I want. So you could have a primary show that you're building out and testing, but then maybe you want to have a secondary show that you're troubleshooting on, and you could be sort of developing that in one of those other workspaces and then moving it into you know, set 1 for running a show. Or you could have 3 different shows. Maybe you got church services, which have 3 different services, and you want to be able to quickly switch from a 10 a.m. service to a 12 p.m. service or something like that. And so you can have different sets of your cues. So I'm going to leave it on 2, and I'm still on Q mode here, but that is all happening on the companion end of things. It's not actually requiring any. It's not requiring any back end. Let me just jump into. I'm trying to get that graphic off. Is it this one? Ah, there we go. I finally found it. I should have gone straight in here. For some reason, that got stuck on H2R Graphics. So I did go hide all, and it didn't clear it. But finally, we've cleared that graphic. All right, let's go back to, I gotta go, and now my show's out of whack because I was moving that around. So let me go to, I'm gonna put this back onto list mode, and you'll see I've gone back to list 10. So this will also show you the queue number here. So when on queue mode, I'm on Q3. But when I'm on list mode, it's jumped to 10, and I can go to that now. All right, so the queue system is a Google Sheets integration, which is using external queue lists and metadata logging to dynamically drive the show flow. So it also uses the cues that I was just showing you, those 24 cues, which are, I guess, sort of technical placeholders which you can put in camera, lights, sound, all of those equipment things that you want to drive into those 24 cues. But then the Google Sheets sits outside of that, but can trigger those cue buttons as well. So let's jump back here. Remember, I was on the queue mode, but I'm going to now put it into list mode. And so you'll see the same sort of thing here. I can actually just manually trigger any of these buttons just by pushing them directly. But now, because I've selected list, this is actually operating using Google Sheets. And so what that looks like on this end is once you've connected Google Sheets, you'll just have a spreadsheet called list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that kind of thing. So I've got list 1 here, and the first column is my headers, and you've been seeing these coming up on the show. And then I've got a description column, and then column C is for links, and this is this will be inserted into YouTube metadata and into YouTube itself, and also for logging. And then column D is, if it's blank, it's going to not run the queue, not run these queues. It's going to, oops, did I press that? I think I might have pressed that. Sorry, if it's blank, it's going to pull up an alternate shot. And if you've got a number in there between 1 and 24, it's going to execute 1 to 24, depending on where I'm at. So remember we said we're on list 11, so that means I'm on this one, YouTube dashboard, is what I'm on at the moment. YouTube dashboard, yeah, because that's the next one that's coming up, but my queue here is just still highlighted at 3, so nothing is going to change here locally on these queues that are like the technical drivers here. So what this means is, and this is the way that I build out a show, which is I can, often in my notes app or any sort of note-taking app, is just listing out what you want in a show, like line by line. I want this, 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 this. Then I can paste it into a spreadsheet, or I could just like in a spreadsheet be just typing in like, I want to have pre-roll, show start, section 1. And I mean, I've just got some colors on here, but it's just pulling in the text, not the actual formatting of bold or anything like that. And then we've been through this in terms of the core having these 5 pages, and then this list is kind of 6. And then next up, I'm going to show you these YouTube, Google Sheets, VLC Playback, H2R, and then this one here, DJF Live One, is going to trigger Q1, 2, 3, 4 once I get to it here, part 2, which is going to change the lights and stuff like that. So watch for that as we go along. But it's just an easy way to, because in a spreadsheet you can just like drag things and rearrange them so you can have a more dynamic flow to the run of show. And also all of this text is pulled into Companion, and then H2R Graphics is displaying that back onto screen. So it's a way to write out a show and have that directly put onto screen without having to, manually copy paste all these different fields and then linking those up. Like what you're seeing here is what's going onto screen. And on my phone here, in terms of when I'm going, okay, what's next? I'm looking down at, I've got my teleprompter, which I can show you here, I think. So I've got a confidence monitor, which is showing me, I've got some clocks here, which I can see this text, but I can also see this button here. And so I know that when I hit this next, then next up, we're going to talk about the YouTube dashboard. So this is a way for you to see your YouTube stream stats, start or stop a live stream, insert chapters and chats. So this is, I showed you before on the show page, there's like a mini YouTube here, just so you can see that in relation to starting a show. But if you go back to the homepage navigation and to YouTube, now you've got a dedicated page for YouTube. So from the top, we've got the episode title that is current, and then all of this relates to that episode, and then it'll also show you the next 4 YouTube titles if they're loaded. I don't have any built in YouTube, so there's nothing to pull through there. It'll show you the viewer count, and then you can either refresh the stats or reload everything. So when you've finished a YouTube show, you'd hit reload, and then it would bring up the next one that's in your YouTube queue. If you've got multiple YouTubes, like think about a conference and you've got multiple streams that you've pre-queued. There's start and stop. It's just showing me that I'm live at the moment. Stream health is good. And then you can automatically log the chats and the chapters into the Google Sheets log that we were talking about before. And you can also open YouTube Studio Panel or the watch pane here from these buttons. And then this side is a chat and chapter. So you can select this is a Google Sheets integration again. So Google Sheets with the name Chat 1, or I could select 2, 3, 4, whatever, and then I could go to New Sheet if I wanted to insert a new sheet actually within Google Sheets. But I'll show you over here. You'll see in the same workbook I've got Chat 1. So you can just in column A, write out all of your things that you want, and it also knows variables. So for example, on today's show, we're looking at, and I'm sort of self-referencing a Google Sheet here, which is show B3. So, you know, show B3. So I'm saying we're looking at, you know, part 1 and part 2, DJF Core, DJF Live One. And so you can sort of make it evergreen, so you don't have to always, you know, update it. So get started at show B6 is this link here, which is, you know, to the website. So it's really powerful way to just pre-build out the chats and to insert them with the this bottom row here. Drop your questions in the chat. You'll see that pop up there, and then it will automatically advance the next one. And you can just create a new sheet. So for example, chat 2 is create a new sheet. I could start typing in the new chats that I want, and you can see that it's updated what chat I'm connected to. So I'm gonna go back to chat 1 because I didn't have anything in chat 2. And then the other one is chapter. It's just a way to, if you have a producer who wants to put in specific, sorry, I'm gonna we have a dry throat. If you have a producer who wants to insert chapter markers live throughout your live stream, then you can, you know, write it out here and you can manually insert it here. Otherwise, by default, as you work through your list and your run of show, it's automatically logging these chapters into YouTube. So it means that at the end of a live stream, all the chapters are time coded and you don't have to go back and modify anything. So that's the two there, chat and chapter, which is tied into Google Sheets. So Google Sheets Metadata Integration. So this is where you can import run of show data, and then you can also export metadata back to log it. So you have a record of what happened in your show. So from the home page, we're going to go to Sheet. And what we're looking at here is essentially two spreadsheets. So one is called List and one is called Log. List is your run of show. So this is a list of all the things that you're going to work through. And it'll show you list 1, row 13 is what I'm on. And then this is giving a preview of what is going to be written into these cells here in the log row 78, log 1, row 78. So again, jumping over to Google Sheets, if I go into log 1, where are we? For some reason I started down here. And so 78 is this empty one here. And I can also just sort of insert a, take 1 or take 2 if I wanted to have manual markers that are put in here. So you could do this for logging interviews. It doesn't have to be during a live stream. It could be during a commercial shoot or during interviews or that kind of stuff. Take 3, take 4. The takes will reset when you move on to the next list column. So when I move off this particular VLC Playback is what's coming in here next. So that's what's loaded here. So all of these are the VLC section, and I'm going to take 1, 2, 3. And other pickup, or I could do bad take or that kind of stuff. So these are also by default inserting a timestamp of when this happened, and I've got it set, although you can change it in here to whatever your time code on your recording device is. So this column B at the moment is set to insert it based on the ATEM time code that I'm recording at the moment. So you can see I'm on the file at 31 minutes, 49 seconds. That's where I would find that. So it makes it easy afterwards to not just see the time of day, but also where on your file you're going to find these moments that have been logged. So that's the sort of operational layer. And then on so it's the operational layer that's inserting sort of manual markers if you want to log them. And then likewise, you can select which list you're working with here. So you see, VLC Playback is what's next in my list. But when I go to list 2, there's nothing in there, so it's updated and showing me it's actually not connected to anything. So I'm going to stay on list 1, and same with log 1. And again, you can insert a new list. What do we got? Log 1. Just make sure I don't have anything in there. So, and I'll show you up here. So if I was on list 1, but I wanted to start a whole new show, then I could sort of insert a new list. Then the downside of that is I've also reset my row to row 1 in terms of what I'm working with here. So I'm going to go back to list 1, and now I need to jump back to Google Sheets, and VLC Playback was my next one that I'm working off. We're on the right one. All right. Next up is VLC Playback. So this is also included in DJF Core, and this is for video and audio files from any computer. VLC itself is open source, and it's it's a must-have application in your live stream arsenal, because even if you have something like a Hyperdeck, Hyperdecks often have very specific requirements of frame rates and file sizes and codecs. So if your client hands you a file last minute and is like, play this back, then chances are you might need to encode that before uploading it, and that can be just processed. And so VLC is great because it handles basically any video file or audio file that you can throw at it, and it's sort of pretty universal because you can, on any Windows or Mac computer, you can just output the full screen into an ATEM and control it via this this page here. So on the front page, page 1, go to VLC, and this is what we're looking at here. So I've got just the clock, so you can keep track of, like if you're a videotape operator, keep track of the time. You got the time counting up and counting down, and you can also set auto in and out so that if the ATEM cuts to the assigned channel of whatever it's assigned to, then it will automatically cut to it, and if it cuts away, then it will stop it. You can change the volume and the rate of playback, next track, play, stop, and also there's a auto and cut buttons here for the ATEM if you wanted to load them up. I think I've queued this up. You can see I've got 10 slots here to playback, and on my this is actually connected to my Mac Mini, so you're looking at my sort of desktop computer here, but the Mac Mini is what it's going to play off. So I've set that, and if I hold this button down, then I can just start playing, or if I hit stop, this is the desktop of the Mac Mini that you'll see. This is usually what I look at in terms of my clocks and looking at what's next. H2R Graphics is in there, but I can press it once to cue it, and then I can hit play. And I've also got the cut and auto buttons. What else to say? Yeah, that's basically the layout for that one, which is pretty handy to have VLC in your arsenal. Next one is H2R Graphics. So this is bringing graphics on and off air, hiding them all, or managing auto logging of comments. So we can, from the home page, we'll go to H2R, and there's a bunch of pre-built slugs, I guess you'd say, that are included in the DJF Core package. So you can just load in that project and then make changes to your graphics, and these will be connected. So to bring up the ticker, that kind of stuff, you just change the content, change the colors and the design, but this will all be connected when you load in that, and so you can see things coming on and off air here. It'll sort of show if it's partly going, if it's like on the way off or on the way on. What else have we got? Logo. You can also hold it. So I just held down logo queued and time of day queued. And so I could build maybe like QR code like that. And so I could select 3 graphics by holding it for half a second. And then when I go run, it'll actually bring those graphics on at the same time if you're trying to, take them all on or all off at the same time. So I can clear that with hide all. We've got lower thirds here, QR code I showed you, little icon, that kind of stuff. You want a web address or something else, a score team, and you can sort of increase by pressing, each team, or just hold it if they lose a point, depending on what your sport is. You change that. Other ones available in there, but there's also, you can enable or turn this off here, which is automatically add H2R comment to the YouTube chapter. So this is when I bring up someone's comments on screen by reading the when I read off the iPad and read someone's comments, then when this is enabled, it is also logging that to the YouTube chapter marker settings, so that at the end of a live stream, I can have my show content that's time code marked, but then I can also have the any comments that were brought up with the person's name and what was said, so it's easy to find in a Q&A section, be like, oh, I'm interested in that topic, and sort of jump around depending on that. Then you can also auto-log H2R comment on, so you can log that into Google Sheets if you want to keep track of that as well. All right, that's H2R comments. Next one is slides. So this is to control Google Slides presentations and also a Chrome browser, and it's using a Vicrio module connection. So under here, we can come to slides for Mac or Windows because the commands are slightly different. So if you're running Mac, jump in there. You can also just change, depending on there, a different color so you remember what you're working with. And I'm going to jump over to here, and I've got a slideshow here. So you can see I've got tab control here, so I could go to tab 2 or tab 3. So this is a way to, if you had, for example, 6 tabs preloaded in Chrome, and maybe it was also full screen, so you're just trying to have a cleaner presentation, you could select your, I'm on tab 3, you could select tab 4, tab 2, that kind of stuff, so that you can, bring it up by a button rather than having to mouse across a presentation screen. So that's one way of doing the browser control if you're presenting stuff from the web. But if you're presenting stuff from a slideshow, then you can go start, and you can start moving through a excuse me, presentation of whatever it is that here I'm talking about how to connect companion satellite, so you can connect back to a Mac Mini in a rack installation rather than having to have multiple companion installations. So that is an example of slides control on the Mac, but also available on Windows. So before we leave this section, just want to jump over to here, and so DJF Core, if you go to the website, that's available now, and that's just the core section, including the YouTube, the Google Sheets, VLC, H2R Graphics, and the slides control. So that'll just give you an idea of what's included in there, but I just sort of demoed all of that for you. So that is $99, and that includes all of the things I just showed you today. If you do buy an ATEM, then the core is included, so you don't need to get that. You'll see here, core is included. It's designed to be kind of, the switcher is kind of your operational system base. So the ATEM has the core included, and then if you did have equipment like Hyperdeck or Canon PTZ, that's where you'd purchase that separately and do a second install to add that on as an additional module. So there's some people who just want to get that sort of core live streaming base, and they don't have Canon PTZ cameras or ATEMs and that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to make all of that live stream logic available for people, which is, I think, a great price for all of those functions enabled there and what's included in that. All right, the next one is, that thing's popped up again, is DJF Live One. So this is the all-in-one option for DJF Live, which includes the ATEM 4ME, the Canon PTZ, Hyperdeck control, and all of what I just showed you in DJF Core. So this is the way in which you can have one install and just get all of what I've got to offer. And as I progress and make more things, they will probably likely come into that all-in-one package. Let me just get over here and take a quick look at, for whatever reason, that graphic, it keeps popping up. All right, so it looks, I guess, a little bit like this, with the core is going to have also Hyperdeck, which at the moment I've placed that here on this particular installation, but that would be on the homepage here. So Hyperdeck is going to be, I guess, similar to VLC, where you've got play and like playback of all of these, 15 different slots here that you can play back. It's also got your time remaining and your time code, play format, record quality, audio channels, choosing which slot you're recording to. So you can, I'm trying to think if this is going to bring audio through. This may bring audio through, I'm not sure. So you'll see this is it playing back here, and I can sort of select different ones, stop it. I'm not going to go into it now, but you can also hit record and it'll switch over to recording. So just a really nice, easy interface to be able to see what's going on in your Hyperdeck, and also have quick access to all of these files with the file names to make it easy to work out what you're gonna, what you're playing back. So that's the Hyperdeck. DJF One also includes the ATEM 4ME, so up to 4 mix effect layers here, and that has on the input up to, what's that, 60, 80, what's that, 80 inputs, as well as 48 auxiliary outputs, aux here. So I've only got a 2ME constellation connected here, so these are grayed out, but if I had a 4ME plus, then that would be connected all the way up to 48 here. So yeah, and that can control up to 3 ATEMs as well. So you can have different models and maybe have like a primary switcher. Like I have a primary switcher, and then I have a extreme, which is set up as basically an ISO record of 8 channels. And then if I did have an ATEM mini at a venue downstream somewhere, it means I can jump in and control that. So 3 ATEMs to control there. And then all of the core items that we had available in there. All right. Let me have a look here. Let's have a look at any Q&A. It doesn't look like we've got many questions here. We've got Aussie Odd Socks. I love that name. That's a very Australian name, I think. Great to have you here joining from Sydney. I guess you're at a time on the weekend. I'm not normally live streaming on a Saturday, but it was a busy week, so I just wanted to sort of get one of these in on the weekend. So hopefully that can help international viewers who are maybe at a sort of odd time for New York City. All right. Well, that seems to be all that we have there. I'm just going to, where did my button go? Clearing that one away. Yeah, no other questions. All right, well, I'm just going to wrap up here. And so DJFlive.com is where you can go to get those profiles, DJF Core, DJF One, which includes all of it. So take a look at that website, and if you have any questions, reach out. And until next week, take care, and I'll see you then.